couldn't be more proud of it. The song, the video. This is from my new album, which is done, which will come out in 2024. So I'm over the moon.
How did you first get involved in Broadway? Jekyll and Hyde, your Broadway debut. You went on to play Riff Raff in Rocky Horror. How did that come about?
That came about through Atlantic Records. I was signed to Atlantic Records when I was 18 years old by a guy by the name of Jason Flom, who now has a wrongful conviction podcast, which is huge. He gets innocent people out of jail. He also signed Twisted Sister, Kid Rock, Sugar Ray, 30 Seconds to Mars. The list is endless on the bands that Jason has brought to us. Greta Van Fleet. Those are the kind of success stories he has. So Atlantic Theater Division put out the soundtrack for Jekyll and Hyde, the musical by Frank Wildhorn. And Frank Wildhorn went into Atlantic Records and told them, I want a rock star to play Jekyll and Hyde. And Jason called me at home and he goes, hey man, I don't know if you're interested in this, but would you like to come and see this play Jekyll and Hyde and see if you're interested in it? And I go, do you have the right phone number? Like, you're calling me? And Jason said, Sebastian, the way you sing your clean songs, like I Remember You, 18 in Life, those kind of songs, he goes, that's Jekyll. And then Monkey Business, Slave to the Grind, Youth Gone Wild, that's Hyde. Because those are two completely different singing tones. So I go, okay, I get it. So I went to see it. And it was Jack Wagner in the lead role. And I loved the clothing, the costumes that they were all wearing was all like perfectly tailored Scafati Victorian clothing and capes and vests and jackets. And just looking at the clothing, I was like, I want to do this. And I love the songs. So that came through Jason Flom, who makes people famous and successful. That's what he does for a living. So that's how that happened.
Wow. Well, one thing I love about the Masked Singer is they showcase so many different theme nights, like Rocker Night, Elton John Night. You mentioned, they ultimately hit every decade. Like I look at now, like, like Taylor Swift, the Eras tour, like that's one of the biggest things ever. Like, how do you think music has changed, like since you kind of first came on? There's the internet now, of course, but like, how do you think the music business has changed since your early days in Skid Row?
Well, I still think that really good music lasts the test of time. And I know that for a fact. One thing I always say to people is that I think Sirius XM has a really great effect on my catalog because I'm like the Michael McDonald of Channel 39. Like you can hear me sing on Sirius XM radio every 10 minutes. Like they play it constantly. So every car that anybody buys has that in the car. So the kids in the back seat listen to mom and dad's favorite music, and then the kids like it. And then it keeps going. And I mean, I think that has a real, like being on a national radio station in every single car in the country, that has a big change, like on your career. If you can get that, people will never have a chance to stop listening to you.
It finds a whole new generation just by them sitting in the back of the car,
That's
right?
100%. Yeah.
Well, out of all of your accomplishments in your career, and now including The Masked Singer, one of my personal highlights was your multi-season arc on Gilmore Girls playing
Oh, yeah,
Gil.
sure.
How did that come about? Because, you know, when you think of Gilmore Girls before your entrance on there, you don't necessarily think about Sebastian Bach.
No, you don't at all. Well, that also came through Broadway because the writers of the show, um, Daniel and Amy Sherman Palladino, who are good friends of mine, they went to my agency and they said, we want a rock star to be on the Gilmore Girls. And the agency said, well, Sebastian Bach just did leading roles on Broadway. And Daniel Palladino said, are you kidding me? Like he was very impressed by Broadway. So he called me on the phone at home and we talked and I read some lines and he said, okay, I want you to be in the show. And I was on Gilmore Girls for 7 seasons, including the latest show on Netflix, Day in the Life, Year in the Life, sorry. You know, a couple nights I went out on the town to the Rainbow with Daniel Palladino, and he told me about going to see Judas Priest in 1978 at the Whiskey. And Amy and Dan are serious rockers. They love rock and roll. And I was like the cool old guy in Lane's band. And I would do that again for sure. I had a great time doing that as well.
Well, you know, reboots are happening all the time. Like you mentioned, you did make an appearance in the last installment. Like maybe they will bring the Gilmore Girls back again for some reason.
I think they will because people love that show. People really love it. They really do. So
Do you get, you know, like I imagine, you know, like of course, like I grew up at a certain time, so I know you from Skid Row, we have Broadway, but do you get recognized around the world from this whole
oh,
different
yeah.
generation of people that just specifically know you from Gilmore Girls?
I get noticed for different projects that I've done in different parts of town. Okay, so if I go out to a rock club, it's Skid Row. If I go to the mall, it's the Gilmore Girls. Like girls with their moms, especially if I have my hair down. They're like, what? Are you Gil? Like they can't believe it. And if I go to Canada, it's the Trailer Park Boys, which I am known for. When I walk around the streets in Canada, people, if they see me, they love that show, the Trailer Park Boys in Canada. And I've been on that show for many, many seasons. So depending on where I'm at, it's a different reaction.
Do you realize that you've been guessed by the judges on The Masked Singer for many, many seasons, you know, prior to, and now we have Nicole got it. So
Well,